My name is Bessert. I'm a 50-year-old man. I'm a homeless man. I want to change the world.
A lot of them have reasons to be upset. And so unless those reasons are satisfied, then they'll continue to be in the same situation.
You know, being a homeless man is not easy. You are faced with a lot of challenges. Challenges to keep some kind of personal dignity. Challenges to keep personal property even. Challenges to keep contacts. Challenges to keep food in your belly. Challenges to keep rain off your head. Challenges to not being ridiculed or looked upon by the public as you're not worthy, let alone to the point where you start judging yourself and feeling you're not worthy. And when people are worthy, people are valuable. We need to bring love back into people's lives. We need to bring dignity back into their lives, self-respect. We need to bring what isn't anymore. Clergy in shelters, people really representing God and showing that God isn't a church. God is bigger than that. God is love. Love is dignity. Love is not. Love is patient. Love is not disrespectful. It's not haughty. It's not demanding. It's not judgmental. It's not controlling. It's not. But it's healing. It's healing, and it's finding someone's what they find joyful, and what they want to live for, what they felt that used to drive them and give them the connection with their family and friends that they always long for and need in their life. And every human being needs that connection to, you know, their higher power, if you will, a connection to what really I think we're missing today. And that's what is missing in our homeless society especially, but maybe missing in advertising, maybe missing in our schools, maybe missing in our home lives, maybe missing in, you know, in music industry. We need to bring real love back into our lives and real dignity and respect. And I feel like being a homeless man has really given me an insight into how to do that. I think you know, I've been asked what makes me cry at night, if I do cry. You know, some people don't even have enough feeling. They're stuck on the fight or flight. They're stuck on an aggressive mode or a mode that they have to feel like they have to defend themselves constantly against not only each other, but the society, the agencies that are there to help them get them back into a housing situation, get them back into feeling they're part of the community. That's not there anymore. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. It's not going to happen because they're not doing it right. They don't have any representation of God in the shelters, in the agencies, because everybody's looking at it from a clerical, from a standpoint where they just think that they throw enough money at it, it's going to fix the problem. No, it's not, because they're not doing with the money they're supposed to. You know, there's so many things to touch on. I got in an argument with my mom. I love my mom. You know, she's from another generation. I know from her standpoint, she's got, I'm 50 years old. I should have, had myself squared away by now, had my own home, or had children of my own. Maybe had, just any kind of life other than just be kind of a drifter or whatever. I'm not so much of a drifter, but I'm an artist. It's kind of a different thing, and I've never really been motivated by money per se. It's always been just motivation for the right thing to do, because it's the right thing to do, because it's a loving thing to do. As far as thing that makes me cry at night is the constant pain I'm seeing, the pain of people lacking the self-worth, lacking the love that is supposed to be instilled in them as a child, the ability to have tools, but they know how to use them to keep themselves, to withstand themselves, to withstand the communities around them economically as well as physically and spiritually and so on and so forth. Nobody, it's like people say they care, but they're telling you they care. They're not really showing you they care. You know, saying you care about us, but then taking our stuff that we've, you know, and it's, I understand that there's a lot of stuff, a lot of people have a lot of garbage. I mean, people have garbage, that's how it works. Every time you hear about a homeless camp, they have to always throw in the mounds of garbage. Well, you know, there's not trash pickup at a homeless camp. What do you think they're going to do with it? If there is a trash can close by, it's overloaded. It happens. I don't know why some cities end up having bigger homeless populations than others. I know this much. I've met some homeless people in this town, and most of them just moved here. You know, I seriously, or at least, and if they didn't just move here, they were either kind of mentally, you know, they're handicapped in some way, maybe, you know, maybe post-traumatic stress disorder. I know even some are actually people who are sexual predators, who actually have to register as a sexual offender and can't seem to get homes to live in. I wonder why. You know, it's hard enough. I've just recently, I've been homeless since December 2016. My landlord wanted me to move in 3 weeks, which apparently when I researched it, yeah, you can legally do. He gave me a 3-day vacate notice. I didn't owe him any money, and then I was in court 3 weeks later, and if I would have been out by that date, I would have been able to save that eviction. The eviction, as people know, eviction on your record is a real big red flag, right? I didn't owe him any money, and yet I walked away from that after having a public defender have me sign for the court costs so that I could keep my Section 8 voucher. No one's going to know. It's very hard to find an apartment with a eviction recently on your record, even if you do have a Section 8 voucher to pay for it. All I needed was an agency to liaison between that, but that didn't happen. So I lost my Section 8 voucher. So I've been in the system. So I've been seeing how does this actually work? You know, kind of call it a sabbatical, if you will. And I found out some really horrible things. There's a lot of agencies that are getting paid a lot of money to do stuff that they're not really doing. They're fudging numbers because they're kicking you out of one place and throwing you in another place, and then the beds are 2 different beds in their numbers game, but it's the same person. You know, I don't, right this second, I actually just lost 1 bed in one place. I mean, but the thing is, I've actually was able at one point have 2 shelter beds at one point, but and only because I didn't have, I was kicked out of one, and you never know if you're going to be.
Okay, talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about, you're a plumber by trade.
Well,
and then
I've done. I actually was.
The pipe that was falling broke.
Yeah. Okay. So I've done a lot of plumbing. I actually worked at a hardware store, and I had to give advice on everything. So I had to learn a few different things. One thing I know about is plumbing. There's fittings in the shelter that come loose. They're fern coat fittings. They're rubber fittings, and they're just on cutting two metal end pieces. And so when they loosen up over time, because things get corroded in there, and then you plunger them, they get loosened up, and they'll actually come loose, and all the sewage or whatever's going down your drain will actually just spit out onto the floor, or the floor beneath that floor. That floor happens to be the shelter that my first experience into homelessness was, the DSC shelter. The building was adequate, except for the fact that I noticed that there was buckets around. There was places where the fittings have come loose, but then, and the thing is they didn't. It was funny because they didn't always. It seemed like, hey, you're gonna have someone come in there immediately, and I thought that was gonna happen, but I never saw anybody come up to fix those. They just kept moving the bucket around, and each time someone flushed the toilet, or and I thought, you gotta be kidding me. So I didn't think that was a real thing till I came back later. The very last time, about 2.5 years later, I spent not too long ago. I spent a day at that shelter. I went to go to my bed, my bunk, and right next to my bunk, not on my bunk, but right next to it, there's a waterfall coming down from the ceiling. It's hitting the top bunk of a bunk nearby, and then going around the side of that top bunk and going down to the bottom bunk, where there was a gentleman sleeping, or trying to sleep, I would assume. I immediately went and I went to the people who work there, the workers, and I said, hey, there's a leak from upstairs. Where's the mop? I grabbed the mop and started mopping it up. When the worker got there, she had a trash can. She shoved the trash can up against the poor guy's bunk. And the guy, and as she does this, there's water coming down. He says, man, this is just as bad as sleeping outside. This is horrible. And I said, yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I just immediately, that was my response, because it's just a human response. The woman who worked there immediately got an attitude and said, you don't have to lay there. You don't have to lay there. Now, you're assigned bunks. It's not like he can just go to another bunk. He could have went, she means you could go sit in a chair or sit in the corner and try to prop yourself up on something, but because they're not going to just let people lay on the floor, and for obvious reasons. Now, he responds to her like he needed to. Lady, I can't use my legs. I can barely get to the bathroom without using, it's a whole rigmarole to get out of the bed. I mean, I was just flabbergasted by her attitude. She didn't give any kind of condolences or oh, I'm sorry for saying that, or I'm sorry for taking that attitude. None of that. I readily found that attitude like, we're just, and I see what people who work in the shelters go through, but they're obviously not doing it right, because these people are not getting back into society. Once they get to be homeless, they become the kings of the underworld in their mind. They become I run these streets out here, you'll hear. And they literally run the streets, but why? Because they live on the street, and the street is your home. The side park bench can be your home for the day. I don't readily sleep in very many places outside, but if I did, I have one park that I like to sleep in, because the benches are comfortable and they're wooden and they're curved, and it's like every bench is put in with a heart. The thing is that I love the sound of the outdoors, And a lot of homeless people can't sleep indoors because they're so used to being outside, and they're traumatized by saying, they're traumatized by something. The veterans I've encountered in the homeless community, they have been. I'm not a veteran myself. I do have a heart because I'm a human being, and I see what they go through. They've given their hearts and their lives to their country. If they believed in it, that's really it was one thing not to believe in doing something that you didn't believe in, having to do something you didn't believe in, but then when you really believe in it, I can only think of the pain that must cause when you are basically betrayed by your country. When you come back and you don't have use of your legs, or you don't have the use of your mind, and your family doesn't really get it anymore because they haven't gone through what you're going through, and nobody really tells them or explains to them how that works, and there's issues, and there's screaming at night, and incoming, and damage control, and broken dishes, and crying, and it's just horrible. I just feel like, man, there's so much things to touch on.
Keep on going.
Oh man, there's no clergy in the shelters. What's up with that? There's no God in the shelters anymore. There's no God anymore. I mean, listen, I went to a school. We didn't have to have administration to do stuff. If my religion didn't allow me to pledge allegiance to the flag because I was Jehovah's Witness, we didn't need some kind of law or some kind of thing. You just went outside because your religion doesn't let you pledge allegiance to anything other than your God. When they answered, I asked as a child. That's what she told me, not the teacher, the person who I asked. So we went outside, and I said, "My God, that's a great answer. That's the best answer I could." I mean, okay, well that works for me. If I want to say pledge allegiance, fine. I don't feel like that. I have to be worshiping my country other than my God when I do it. But it's all what you believe, and we're a freedom of religion country. Anyhow, the clergy is non-existent. I haven't run into any nice Catholic priest that's, no joke intended, but I haven't.
What's the solution?
The solution? Bringing God back, bringing feeling back, bringing love back, bringing dignity back, letting people feel like they're worthy, finding each individual person's joy, making them feel worthy, making them know that, I don't know how to do it. I don't have all the solutions. I do know this much. If the situation can get worse, it can get better too.